What's up everyone, and welcome to another Minecraft Bedrock Redstone tutorial. Today we have a bunch of scoreboards. I'm going to show you all the easy ways to make redstone light scoreboards. Check the description for timestamps if you want to jump to a specific scoreboard. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy these tutorial videos. We're going to start off as simple as it gets. Simply attach a lever to the block next to your redstone light, and there you go. There's the easiest scoreboard. The benefit of this is it can be any length, and you can turn on levers in the middle. It doesn't have to be in order. Always remember to run your redstone signal to the block touching your redstone lamp, rather than the redstone lamp itself. If you run your power directly to the redstone light, it'll turn on the lights next to it. Moving on to our very first automated scoreboard, here we have an item frame scoreboard. So every time you rotate the item in the item frame, it will go up by 1, finally resetting. Pause the video here if you want to build it. It's super easy. What you see is what you get. Now let's talk about it. So when there's an item in an item frame, it has a strength of 1. If the item rotates, it increases its strength by 1 each time up to 8. Once it reaches 8, it resets. It can never reach 9. That also allows us to build things like this. So this light comes on when the item is placed in the item frame, and then has the 7 lights that this normally does. To make the light come on at 1, to build what you see here, so the comparator is powering this block right here, which is turning on the light. And then this block right here is also 1. The comparator sends its 1 through the block. Another alternative version of this one is vertical. If you want to build it vertically, this is how you do it. So you have this back and forth glass going all the way up, and so this powers every other light. Since the item frame increases its strength by 1 every single time, it'll activate the number 1 light, then the number 3 light, then the number 5, and then 7. And then to activate the other lights, simply run a signal from the back part of the glass that isn't touching that wall. So to visualize this, let's break this redstone. And so see, the glass by itself is powering those lights. This just diagonally up glass. And then you don't even need redstone here. You can just place a block coming out of this repeater if you want to put like a ladder there or something to get up there to make it easy. But either way, so yeah, that's how you build this vertically, super duper easy. If you don't want the item frame underneath it, that's also super duper easy. So let's come back here and destroy this block and this comparator, and then you just need to run another comparator signal to it. So you can have this comparator running to this block, into this comparator, into another block, into your glass. So something like this, just use comparators and 1 redstone or 1 block, and the comparator will carry the signal to your glass redstone up thingy. So this one can only have 7 lights. It can't have more than 7. If you have less than 7, it'll take longer to reset. Also, another problem is if you are like playing a game, you have 4 points, you're doing stuff, you come over to add a point, and you accidentally hit it and knock it off, it'll reset your score, and maybe you don't remember what your score was. It's just like you can accidentally hit the button and reset it. So you have something like this, that this is the easiest button counter, but it requires pumpkin pie or cake. It uses a composter to increase the redstone path, and so every time you turn on a light, it will consume 1 pumpkin or 1 cake. And then once it reaches its 7 lights, it will reset and give you a bone meal. So this counter produces bone meal at least. And it's just a dropper going into a composter, with a hopper underneath it, going into a chest to collect your bone meal. The redstone is really similar to the item frame one. It has exactly 7 lights. But on this one, once it hits the 7th, it then pings 8. And so it allows you to put like a note block or like a bell or something to be like, yay, it's done. So to visualize this, every time the composter receives an item, the light goes up by 1, and then once it's full, it hits 8. And then it resets because of the hopper underneath. If it didn't have a hopper underneath, it would stay at 8 and only flash 7 momentarily. Very, very interesting counter for sure. And now this counter is super duper unique. This is the biggest, easier counter. It has 1 to 15 lights, and it uses these gold pressure plates. So every time a non-stackable item lands on a gold pressure plate, it increases the signal output by 1. So you can have up to 15 lights, and then to reset it, you just come over here and collect the non-stackable items and put them back in the chest up top. The downside to this one is you have to use non-stackable items, and so they will despawn after 5 minutes. So your first point will reset after 5 minutes of time, even if you don't pick it up. To build it, just pause the video like these other ones. It's super easy. What you see is what you get. To explain this first comparator, though, it's sending a signal of 1 to these two. It's sending a signal of 1 through this block and on top of that block. And so then you have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, so on and so forth. As many lights as you want to. And yeah, each non-stackable item will increase the signal by 1 up to 15. Of course, it's always impossible to get a strength of 16 out of redstone stuff. 15 tends to be the max that you can do, and so same with this. Even once you get to 15, even if you add a bunch more swords, it'll never get to 16 down there, as you can see. But yeah, it's super weird. And so all three of these style of scoreboards, the ones that increase the signal by 1, this pressure plate and this composter and then this item frame one, to build them vertically is just like this item frame one. So like take your item frame that I showed you how to build and just instead of the item frame, switch it to a pressure plate, right? And now let's look at it. So like you actually need that signal of 1 that you usually ignore, and so you need like that repeater down there. But yeah, there you go. So now it's the exact same method as the item frame one. So the same way with the composter, we just stick that here, and every time you put in a pumpkin pie, it will increase the light number. So also to show that it hits 8 like that and stays at 8 until you put a hopper underneath it. So maybe there's something you can do with that too. This one's really interesting for like games or something. It has like an automatic, it knows when you scored the last point kind of thing. But yeah, here's just another view of this. This one's also super duper easy to build. Easiest vertical by far, I think. I haven't seen or found an easier way to do a vertical scoreboard. Of course, I guess you always have like the plebeian one like this. That every time you press the button, like some lights will activate, sometimes no lights, sometimes 3, sometimes, it works. This is the easiest way to do these dropper counters, because droppers and hoppers are kind of weird. They increase their signal strength by not 1. Not like the other scoreboards we've looked at. They increase their signal strength by like 2 and 3 and 4 and just like random numbers. So this is the horizontal dropper scoreboard. I like these scoreboards. They're a little more complicated, but they're nice. You can reset them in the middle. They don't reset automatically or like randomly. You can't accidentally mess it up. You can reset the score at any time. Just every time you press the button, it goes up by 1, up to 9. Yeah, I like these. I'll show you how to build a vertical one right after this, but this is how you build the horizontal version of the dropper counter. And so you need this right here, this simple clock. It's a simple torch clock to reset the dropper, to empty the dropper that's being counted. And then you have these two droppers going into each other. So this is the one being counted. And then this is the one where that holds the 9 non-stackable items. So every time you press the button, it will send 1 non-stackable item from this dropper into this dropper, and then it will send a signal out through this comparator, and it will turn on the corresponding light. So let's break these blocks really quick so we can see the lights, and then I'll give you an aerial view so you can pause the video to build it if you want to. It has a lot of repeaters, but again, this is my favorite horizontal counter. To give you a visual demonstration, this is what happens each time you press the button, and then when it resets. Yeah, I like it. It's super cool. It's like the most reliable 9-light scoreboard. The other scoreboards have like 7 lights, or they reset after 5 minutes, or they consume items, or something weird. So I like this. Let me shimmy around so you can see what's underneath these floating blocks. Those floating blocks are important. They block the redstone from each other. And now let's talk about it. So you have the dropper and the hopper counter. We'll start with the hopper one. It only has 5 lights because it only has 5 slots, but every time it gains a non-stackable item, the signal strength goes up by 3. So you have 3, then 6, then 9, then 12, then 15. Then of course it's impossible to get to 16 as always. So this one's interesting. It's limited because there's only 5 lights, but it's easy to drain. You know, like you only need to turn off the signal for it to drain. So that's kind of nice. You know, just turn off the power to the hopper and the hopper drains itself. Easy peasy. Now the dropper scoreboard counter, it has 9 lights, which I really like. But you have to drain it using this little redstone clock thingy right here, or a clock of some kind. So every time this gains a non-stackable item, its signal increases differently. So the first non-stackable item gives you a signal of 2, the second one gives you 4, then 5, then 7, 8, then 10, 11, 13, then 15, and then of course it's impossible to get to 16. But yeah, so this one's really strange to build vertically, but I've been trying long and hard to figure out a design that would be easy to follow along with. And this is what I came up with. It is the 9-light vertical dropper scoreboard. Every time you press the button, 1 light will turn on, and whenever you flick the lever, it will start to drain. If you flick the lever before it's totally done, it will stop draining in the middle, and you can start draining at any time. It's super nice, super reliable. I like it. It's super cheap to build, so to build this thing, you will need 9 non-stackable items of any kind, some blocks of your choice, 6 glass. I'm going to use lime stained glass just so that you can see it, but you can use any type of glass, doesn't matter. You just need 6 glass, and then the rest of that stuff. You will need a 3x5 work area. Start off by placing a line of decorative solid blocks right there in the front, and then your 9 redstone lamps on top. Jump off. There you go. You have your 9 lamps like so. Now come around to the back and get your solid blocks of choice and fill this in. So it's 4x3 of solid blocks. Put a solid block behind that first redstone lamp, and then a decorative solid block on the side of the second redstone lamp. Put a repeater with 4 redstone dust like so. And then jump up here, get your glass, and place it on top of this redstone dust, and then on top of that redstone dust. Then place redstone dust on top of your glass into a decorative solid block. Now get a solid block of choice coming out of this glass with a repeater on top of it. And then more blocks of your choice going into a decorative solid block with redstone dust. And come back over here, get a third piece of glass and put it on top of this redstone. Put redstone dust on top of it. Jump up here and get your solid blocks. Come out the back with a solid block. Put a redstone dust on top. Then come off of this solid block with more solid blocks, going all the way around into a decorative block. Put a repeater right here with 3 redstone dust right here. Now come out the back here, place a temporary block and then a block on top. Break out your temporary block. Put a redstone dust up here. Now get your glass and place a glass right here with redstone dust on top. Put another piece of glass right there with redstone dust on top. Then out of this glass, come out with solid blocks into a decorative solid block. And then put your redstone repeater right there with redstone dust going into it. Then put a solid block coming out of this side of this glass. And then make a ring of solid blocks, like a little donut. And then put a repeater right here. And then redstone dust all the way around, like so. That will turn on this light right here. And it doesn't interact with that repeater at all, so everything's good. Now put a third piece of glass on top of this with a redstone dust on top. We are almost done. Put your solid blocks coming out from this to power the very tippy top light. So put a decorative solid block right there with redstone dust. Now just to power the next to last light. So place a block here, a block there, and then a block down here. You can look at the side of the redstone dust, or you can just place 2 blocks. That's fine too. And then put your repeater right there with a redstone dust right there. And that's it. You are done. You just built a vertical 9-light scoreboard. Of course, it doesn't have the dropper input yet or the reset system, but we're about to get in that. This is what you should have. Okay, so now to run your dropper signal into your redstone, right here is where your comparator is going to go. So you can either put it up here or you can put it down here. I'm going to put it down here for just where I'm going to run my button. But if you want to move it later, just so you know, you can put the comparator up there too. That's fine. Same rules apply to like moving stuff as we talked about earlier. But I'm going to put my button right here and my lever right here. Then come around to the back and get a solid block. Put it right there and right there behind your button and lever. I'm going to put a repeater behind my lever and a redstone dust behind my button. And then put a dropper facing out and then a dropper facing that dropper. Make sure your droppers are facing each other. Then put your 9 non-stackable items into one of the droppers. And then put a solid block right here next to the comparator so that it can read what's in that dropper. Put a solid block right here and a solid block next to this repeater. A redstone torch on the side of this block with a solid block on top of it. And then a repeater coming out of that solid block. And a redstone dust under there. There's your clock to reset your dropper, like so. Alright, and it's done. So now when you press the button, the light should go up by 1. And when you flick the lever, the light should go back down. It's super easy, super cool. I'm going to use this in building a basketball stadium for the next episode. So come back. Make sure to like and subscribe so that you don't miss out. I'm going to show you next time how to build a working basketball goal and other like neat tips and tricks for building basketball stadiums. You can use these scoreboards for the videos to come, and it should be lots of fun. I'm excited. And that's all we got. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I've been your host, OmLedu, hopefully teaching you a redstone trick or two, and reminding you, as always, that until next time, don't forget to have fun. Bye.